to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Ready to go. Okay, item number 2, called order and roll call. Commissioner Clement? Here. Commissioner Echegon? Here. Commissioner Franklin? Here. And I am here. And let the record indicate we do have a quorum. Okay, item number 3, public comment. This time is reserved for members of the audience to comment on subject matters that are not on the agenda, but within jurisdiction of the Lemoore Planning Commission. Speakers are asked to limit their comments to 3 minutes per person. Commission is prohibited by law from taking any action on matters that are not on the agenda. Any handout for the commission shall be provided to the Planning Commission Secretary for distribution to the commission and staff. Seeing none. Item number 4, approval of the minutes.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes as presented.
Okay.
Second it.
Okay, we have a motion to approve the minutes by Commissioner Echegon, seconded by Commissioner Franklin. Any comments? Okay, we will call for it. Then Commissioner Echegon,
Aye.
Commissioner Franklin,
Aye.
Commissioner Clement,
Aye.
and I vote aye. Okay, number 5, approval of the public hearing. General plan amendment for 21 through 23 and zoning map amendment 21-05, request by Daily Homes to change a portion of the land use designation on the Lemoore General Plan land use map and zoning map from low density residential to low medium density residential, and a portion of the land use designation zoning map from low medium density residential to low density residential on the undeveloped site located northwest corner of State Route 198 and State Route 41, south of San Simeon Drive and west of Arcata Drive. You're on.
Good evening, Chair. Happy New Year, Commission. Steve Brandt, City Planner. This item, this area was brought to you in 2016 for a general plan amendment, and that was because the general plan update from 2008 had not put a designation on a portion of the land. And so in 2016, we corrected that. The applicant had asked for this area to all be designated low, medium density residential, but your commission and the council redesignated it to low density residential. The main reason for that was there was some opposition from the neighbors to the north who did not want to be right next to low, medium density residential. So the applicant is back with a request again, but this time they're keeping the area on the north that would be adjacent to the existing neighborhood low density residential, and so it would only be on the south side of the new street that would be the low, medium density residential. So on the map, you can see there's a before and after shot that shows that it's only the southern swath of the area. The main reason for it is because the lots would be really deep. If they were low density residential, wouldn't be a great efficient use of the property. So by getting in some triplexes or some duplexes in there, we're going to get more units in the area. So that's the main reason why staff is recommending approval, and also because the issue that came up last time with opposition from neighbors is addressed by putting the low density residential next to them. So those would likely be single family homes next to them. We did an analysis that's in your staff report that we're calling the state housing law assessment. This is something you're probably going to see more often because now we're not allowed to quote unquote down zone property. So we can't, the state will not allow cities to go from high density to low density anymore. In this case, we're going from low density to a higher density, which is okay. So we wanted to do that analysis because there's the potential that if we did get a request within the next, I think what would determine 180 days? 180 days, we could use this increase as a credit. So we're going to try to keep track so that we know what the options are if somebody wants to come in, and we want to be able to tell them whether they can or cannot, apply for certain general plan amendments. So it's a technical numbers game that we're going to have to keep track of. I just wanted to point that out. But again, we're recommending approval. There's findings in your staff report as well as a resolution.
Where do we stand on the ratio, if that's the correct word, for low density and medium density, or single family residences and multis?
We're going to find out this year because this is housing element year for the San Joaquin Valley. So the numbers should be coming in from the state in the next few months on how many housing units they think we should be building over the next 8 years. And then we'll work with Kings County and the other cities to put together a housing element that will figure out, because we will have to show all of the land and where we would be able to build those houses. I don't know that we've done the analysis lately, because the last time we did it would have been 8 years ago. At that time we met it. But we'll just have to see, and if we don't have enough during the housing element process, we'll have to upzone property.
I do an annual housing report.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we didn't meet our goal for this last 8-year
Goal in
period.
terms of,
The state gives us a goal to hit on building new housing, and we didn't hit it, but pretty much no other jurisdiction is hitting it either.
is that in terms of not enough multi or not enough single family?
We usually get closer on it. They don't divide it up into single and multi. They divide it up into income groups. So there's above moderate, low, and very low. And in terms of income levels.
That does seem to have a correlation, whether it's multi or
It
single.
usually does. And in the valley, it does. In other parts of the state, it doesn't necessarily. And sometimes we have to argue that some single family neighborhoods can be considered low income in the valley, where, in the LA area or San Francisco, that's not ever going to be the case. So, but we'll just have to, that's a process we're going to go through. We're going to bring it up in the director's report, but yeah, that's something that we'll have to work through again this year.
Am I getting ahead of myself in asking that?
No, not necessarily.
Okay.
No, doing an upzone like this furthers our ability to meet our housing goals.
Do we have another area in the city that we have a down zone in mind? Or when was that even ever happen?
I'll say we don't officially, but we did recently get an inquiry.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know if they're going to apply, what they're going to do, but it kind of made us realize that we need to, pay attention to this so that we can advise people on whether they can apply or not.
Hmm.
This is a public hearing.
Pardon?
This is a public hearing.
Yep.
Yeah, if you don't have any more questions for
Want to
me.
make sure that we're finished.
Yeah, unless you have any more questions.
I'm good, you guys.
Okay. We'll open the public hearing now?
Yes.
Okay. We'll open the public hearing on General Plan Amendment 21-23, Zoning Map Amendment 21-05. And it is 7:11.
Good evening, Commissioners. Matt Ainley with Four Creeks. Thanks for letting me be here tonight, and appreciate the staff and their hard work in getting this in front of you guys. Yeah, this is a request as part of we have for the further project with more details that are coming through too. But yeah, the Daily Homes is looking to do the transition here. The lots, the radius is so big there at 41 and 198 that it just makes super deep lots, and so it fits a lot better and provides for a little bit more logical of a transition from the freeway to the single family neighborhood. So we do believe that this will be a good use of the property and ultimately provide a good project. So happy to answer any other detailed questions that I can try.
Questions, comments?
I think it makes sense too. Good point.
So essentially, we're basically taking the area next to the confluence of 198 and
Thank you.
41, and that's moving it in density. Is that correct?
Can you repeat that again?
When I look at the map here to see the before and after,
Yeah.
the amount of property that is being considered right now is really where the curve between 198 and 41.
Yeah. Yes.
Okay, so that's the brownish or tan
Yeah.
area in there. Okay.
So there'll be a future street. It's an extension of Sonoma. That'll curve around there. So before they had asked for low, medium density on both sides of the street. Now they're just asking for it on the one side.
Is Sonoma gonna dead end down there, or is it gonna connect to something?
No, it's going to connect up to those two stub streets on the existing subdivision.
Okay. But
So
they
eventually it'll all be connected. There won't be any new cul-de-sacs built.
Okay.
So where exactly would those two new streets be then off of Sonoma? Does that just kind of come through the center of that tan area?
It'll curve around the street. The street will start up where you see the Sonoma label.
Yes.
It'll go south. It'll curve around. It'll follow the curve, and then connect up to that stub street that's next to the Stinson label.
Does it show it on the site plan?
plan in the package.
Oh, is it? Yeah.
Sorry, I don't have them.
Thanks.
Okay, I see that now. Yeah. All right. Thank you.
If I can ask this, do any of the neighbors have any comments about this new change? All right, are we gonna get to that point?
Yeah, there's.
Okay, sorry.
Yes, thank you. My name's Steve Rossi, and I was here, I guess it was 5 years ago, and seems like just a couple, but I live in that area. I live in the cul-de-sac of Crescent Court, and I would just renew my concerns that I addressed back then. For those, I think most of you were on the commission, so I apologize for repeating myself 5 years later, but I don't believe you were here, Mr. Franklin. So another neighbor and I came, and yes, I had a big concern because when I purchased that lot, I was assured by city staff that there would be nothing going on in that field. And I have a pool, and if I have people over, then I have a concern about noise. Obviously, noise carries, especially with a pool. And I understand the situation with the lack of zoning and then it coming back into zoning and that Mr. Daly owns the property. And like I said back then, I don't disagree that the property owner should be able to develop his property. However, my objection was, again, like Mr. Brandt said, is the condos down there and it increasing the number of residents. And I think that this, back then, if I remember correctly, the planning commission's decision was to stop where up at Sonoma with the condos. They would continue down Sonoma south and then right about the bend there where it starts to curve to the east, again, where the blue line, I believe, is where they were going to stop and build single family homes. I would like it to stay there. I would like you to stay with your original decision from 5 years ago. And I think just putting a one row of single-family homes behind my homes and my neighbors' homes is just Daley's, quite honestly, a backdoor way to get what he wanted in the first place. And that was to build condos and just putting them on the other side of the street. One concern we had back then, which Mr. Brandt did say had some truth to it, was property value. If we're going to put a bunch of condos or apartments back there, it's going to lower our property value. By how much, who knows? But obviously, as the homeowner and the resident, just as if you guys lived there, I assume you wouldn't want your property value to go down either. And I think putting condos is going to lower the property value for the new homes that are going there. I'm right behind them, as well as all my neighbors. It's going to lower our property value. And not to mention the city resources. Water, if you're going to put a bunch of condos back there with 4 or 8 condos on each side of each driveway, all the toilets and showers, we're already in a severe drought. We all know that. We don't need more people flushing toilets and taking showers, and we have to. That would be obviously, quite a bit more than single-family homes there. So the city's infrastructure, I'm sure that's in your report that Mr. Brandt says is okay. I think we should minimize it as responsible citizens and commissioners if we can. Again, but my concern is the neighbors, the amount of neighbors that I was assured none, and also my property value, as well as my neighbors. Apparently they're not here, and I can't speak for them, but I know that was one of my neighbors showed up, and that was one of his concerns as well, was the property value. So I would respectfully request that you stick with your original decision of 5 years ago, and to limit it to the limit line where it was before. Thank you.
Thank you.
Other comments?
I'd like to second that.
Please come forward, please.
I'm also a resident at Crescent Court, 756 Crescent. Doug Moreland, my name. You're bringing in a lot of units. Nobody's talking about the total number of families that you're wanting to pack in there. And the Sonoma Drive, I ask all you to drive that, especially on a Thursday, on a garbage day, but just drive it. It's a more narrow street than normal. And they park on both sides of the road. So when you come through that, it's narrow as it is, and you're going to bring in a lot more traffic. And you're going to bring a lot more traffic in behind this, the way they're going to hook up to that other residential street, Bodega, or whatever it is behind this on Crescent Court. So I don't know why they're not staying with, we have a lot of condos in the area already, which would be a 2-family unit. You're bringing in, how many family units are these that you're piling in back there?
I can answer that.
Okay, all right.
Anyway, I object to it. I think it should stay where it was.
Additional comments from the public? Okay, Mr. Brandt?
So the area that's the subject of this zone change is not the entire undeveloped area, but the area that is the subject of the zone change would currently allow 23 units, and if the zone change was approved, it could allow up to 53 units. So it'd be an increase of 30.
Christie, could you flip back to the map that's a little more, has more clarity for me anyway?
I don't know what I did to this thing, so.
Is it a unit of 4?
Oh, it's 'cause
Okay.
that's
Oh, thank you. So this is the conceptual plan. So it has the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 single-family homes on the north side of the new street, and then the rest is it's a combination of duplexes and I think a couple triplexes that would make up the rest of the 53 units.
Steve, I have a question, just trying to remember, is there any type of brick retaining walls along there, freeway,
Yes.
for noise
Oh, yes.
purposes?
Yeah, so when you had looked at a subdivision map for the area like north of this site and then east of this site. And at that time, there was a condition to put in a block wall along the freeway right-of-way that was the same height as they are on both ends.
I thought so, but I.
Yeah.
Trying to.
And it was pretty
picture
high. It was
that.
about 14, 16 feet, something like that, which is relatively high for block wall.
Well, that's good for safety and for noise both.
Yes,
Is that what's depicted where it says block wall,
yes.
just above phase 3 to the left there?
Yes.
And that goes how far?
It would wrap all the way around. So
All the way
so
around
that
from-
it already exists to the north and to the east of the area that's outlined in blue.
Okay.
Another quick question, where we got unit 1 is, what's directly north of there? Is there more units? Where you got unit 1 up at
Oh.
the top left?
It's currently vacant, but there, Christie said just this week, there were building permits turned in to develop that site. And that's a site that's already been approved.
Okay. Oh, okay, okay.
Mhm. Do you have any further questions for Mr. Brandt?
I don't.
Okay. Any other comments before we close the public hearing? You just stated, ma'am, do you have a comment? No. No, okay. Just want to make sure everyone had the opportunity to speak. Okay, then we will close the public hearing at 7:22. So we've had the public hearing and then we have the recommendation.
Well, I think a little conversation would be in order. What are you guys' thoughts?
I agree. I understand that these lots we're talking about, it is an odd area. The shape really makes, especially when you get to like 7, 8, 9, 10, and 11, those are really big, deep lots. But when I go back to what Mr. Rossi was saying, that we did this 5 years ago, we as a commission agreed with what the public was concerned about, and it was mainly their property value. And when I look, we're going to put some single-family homes across one row. That'll change that a tad, but I don't think it's going to. What I would think it will do is it will still affect their property value. If these were all single-family homes, it would be, their property value would be more than it would be if these units were put in. So my thinking is that I'd have to stick with the decision I made 5 years ago, because I don't think this is the right answer for the people that already live there.
Okay, regarding property value, are these new units gonna rent at a lower square foot rate than the current rate? I mean, I'm just trying to understand why. I understand maybe multifamily has the appearance of doing something to property value, but values of property are only going up right now. I mean, if they were affordable housing, if there was a different level of rent for there, but if they're renting at the same rates as single family homes, yeah, I don't see that adjusting property value. Any thoughts, Commissioner Clement?
No.
I'm just kind of looking at, what we did then and what we're looking at now. The change isn't that much different, and it really doesn't fix the problem that we had 5 years ago.
I think I concur with Commissioner Echegon. I remember that meeting from 5 years ago and the concern about single-family residences, property values, multis, and how that all fits in with the makeup of the city and the services that are required by the city when you start adding multi-units in. I understand we need multi-units, that's not the issue, but it is an added expense. It is adding to the traffic. I live about 2 blocks from that area, and I know the traffic can be heavy at times, to put it mildly. So I think we need to keep that in consideration. That doesn't answer the question of what does an owner do with that property? I understand that, because there are only so many things you can do, given the land uses that we have. But I just have to concur with Commissioner Echegon. I think that was a good decision at the time, and I'm not sure it's appropriate to change it at this point in time.
Mr. Chair, I'll point out for the commission that the action being taken tonight is making a recommendation to the city council. The resolution that is in the agenda packet is a resolution recommending approval. If the decision of the commission is to recommend against approval, this is a legislative action, so technically you don't have to make any specific findings for a denial, but if you'd like to include reasons for a recommendation of denial, you can express that in your motion, and then staff can prepare a resolution to reflect the same, which will then be advanced along to the city council.
Yeah, I understand this is a recommendation and not a final decision on the part of this group. That's not in our purview, but recommendation is required one way or the other. And I do not believe that we have to substantiate a reason for denial if it is not approved, but it's probably in order for the council to have some idea of what our thinking was to make such a recommendation or not make the recommendation.
One other question on what happened previously. Was the intent to keep it bare land indefinitely?
My recollection, and that was some years ago, as Mr. Rossi indicated, was that we not just load that side with multi units, thereby increasing the traffic and the requirement on city services, as well as the potential property values. That was 5 years ago.
Would you guys be in favor of single family?
If I may, that's what the recommendation was back then, is instead of where the new proposal of duplexes is that it would all be single family homes. Yeah, not that he could develop land, no, that it all be single family homes from this new proposal instead of the multi.
From what I remember, he is correct. That's what it was zoned for in the first place, and we agreed that it should stay zoned that way.
Well, further discussion, commissioners?
Well, to me, it would be a win-win for the developer and for the homeowner if it was all single family.
Are there any are there any issues with making a single family? I mean, aside from the amount of units that you can put in there, there's no safety issues with making a single family?
I think probably their concern is that you're going to
The amount
have
of
wasted
units.
land because you're not going to be able to, you're going to only put like one unit in one family or one home in lot 9 where you could put
Yeah.
multi, if you were doing multis. I understand that, but I think that's just kind of tough that that's how the curvature of this whole thing works out, but I think for everybody, it would be way better if this was all single family homes
Well, for traffic purposes as well.
as well. Yeah.
I think, again, that's been a long time ago, but it seemed like the traffic issue came to the forefront during our discussion.
Yes, and I don't think it's gotten any better. to this point in time.
I don't see how it could have.
No. Well, at this point, if there's no further discussion, I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion, but I don't know what the heck I'm doing now. But I'd like to make a motion that we not recommend, I don't even know what number we're on now.
Approval of.
Oh, it's
Not
21,
recommend
20,
resolution number
03.
2022-01. And just for the simple reason that 5 years ago, we set this, and the arguments against it are the same as they were before.
So the motion would be a recommendation to deny general plan amendment number 2021-03 and zoning map amendment number 2021-05 for the reasons previously determined in the 2016 decision to zone this property as single family.
That is correct.
We have a motion.
Is staff comfortable with that?
A motion, do we have a second?
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Echegon, second by Commissioner Clement. Call for the vote. Commissioner Echegon,
Aye.
Commissioner Clement,
Aye.
Commissioner Franklin,
Aye.
and I vote aye. Okay. Excuse my paperwork here. Do we move on then to item number 6, Director's Report?
Not the director. I'm going to give you an update on some things that have been going on. I did want to start with a small item. We approved a temporary use permit for a group that would like to start doing vendor events. And so they're going about getting their business licenses and all that right now. And they had an event at the Wrecking Bar in December, and their next the next date that they're going to do that is February 12th. So they're going to do February, March, and in May, and see how it works there. And then they may kind of go get temporary use permits for other properties, or if it works out at the Wrecking Bar parking lot to do that. So I just thought entertain you to, on a Saturday, you and your families, if I can't tell you what they're selling. There's
Okay.
like 35 of them doing things. They go to Hanford events, Clovis, they're from all around, but it's kind of nice to see something going on here on the weekends. So I just thought I'd mention that. At our last meeting, we approved the major site plan review for Hold My Beer on Commerce and Enterprise. And they have pulled their building permits and are going through the civil plan review process. So you should be seeing some construction there very soon, if not already. I just want to let you know that I think it was in September, we brought the base camp project over on Venture Place to you, and they're going to privatize the road, so they need to do a parcel map. So that's going to be coming to you in the future as soon as they get ready to do their parcel map. Lacey Ranch, the subdivision that we've been talking about for quite some time, out on Glendale and 18th Avenue. That's finally coming to fruition. We should be receiving the final draft of the environmental document soon, and then staff can look at it and it will be sent out to the public. And they're very anxious to get moving forward. So we'll be coming back to you with updates on that every meeting. We did take 2 annexations to Kings County. Those are stalled just a bit. We're doing a municipal services review that Kings County asked for because there's a sphere of influence that's going to change. So because of Lacey Ranch and then this one on the south side of town, I don't know if you remember Casaka, the Casaka project. So we're actually undergoing 2 MSRs. I know tonight it was mentioned like services and that, so we'll be doing some municipal services reviews. So you'll have information on that in the next several months. I just received over the holidays major site plan review for the 9-acre parcel at 19.5 and Cedar Lane. If you're familiar with that property, they're going to do, they're requesting to do a 2-phase project. It's zoned professional office. They're going to do mixed use. So the first phase will be 8 10,000 square foot warehouse office buildings. And then second phase will be multifamily. They're looking at, they just put a conceptual multifamily project on the plan. We won't actually be bringing that portion of it to you, but they are, what they have on the actual conceptual plan is like a 3-story multifamily thing there. So
Are you talking about next to the 41 between 19th and a half?
19.5 and Cedar. So
There's 2 lots.
it's
That's
huh?
where
There's one next to the
And
41.
then 41
Water tank
is,
is.
Okay.
yeah. And then,
Okay.
so, and then recently we took the property that is on, I'm sure everybody's familiar with, it's always overgrown, a piece of city property on D Street between Smith and Oleander. So the city took that to city council to see if we could deem that surplus land, and the city council approved that. So we'll be negotiating to sell that property and get something built there, probably residential, get something built there. So that's all I had time to put on my list, but we have a lot going on. And the holidays were nice. We all survived. But if you have any questions about any of these things that I mentioned.
Well, in terms of the annexations, which is Lacey and whatever this name is over here, what kind of impact will or could that have on the housing element plan? Because we're talking about a lot of single-family residences at Lacey, plus some multis.
We're probably, I would say that it's going to be impacted because we have, I don't know, but the one on the south isn't housing. That was cannabis. But to the north, we have Lacey Ranch, and then we also have, Lemoore has requested an annexation on 18 3/4 Liberty Drive.
Right.
Out there, they had the track 920, so they have phase 1, they're getting ready, they've got their final map processing for phase 2, and now they've requested to annex for another subdivision out that way.
To the north.
Yeah, to the north. So we're expanding. Steve would probably be more
Well, I
helpful
was just
in that
asking
area.
basically because of the kind of ratio we need to have, and I shouldn't say single and multi, but income-wise, what kind of impact is that going? Because that's going to happen hopefully within the next 8 years. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to get into the specifics of the project or start to analyze it now. But generally speaking, when we do the housing element, we have to provide an inventory of the vacant land that we have that's available for housing. And we can only include land that's already been annexed.
Already.
So we will likely, assuming the Lacey Ranch project is approved, if it's annexed, it'll likely be annexed before the housing element's done, and then we'll be able to count it in our inventory.
So which would potentially result in more single-family units than we currently are looking at. Is that correct? Or is that a decent assumption?
The proposal is mostly single family, but it does have some multifamily
There's some
units in
multi
it,
out there, I understand that.
and a couple parks and some other things. So.
Because there is not a lot of housing, and you can correct me, Greg, if I'm wrong on this, and please do. The inventory that is available right now, both for rentals and for ownership for single family, is pretty meager, right?
Yeah, definitely,
Yeah, the market.
Definitely.
very much.
And I don't know how that fits in with multis, condos or apartments or duplexes or whatever the terminology might be correctly used. I don't know how that, compares with the inventory that we have for single-family residences?
There's renters waiting to rent places too. Multifamily.
Guess that answers the question. So kind of what I'm looking at is what do we want to look like 5, 10 years from now? I know there needs to be a mix, but what is best for our city in terms of that, in terms of our growth, in terms of our reaching that magical number that development looks for? What's our critical mass going to look like? And what are the income levels going to look like? Because the income levels for single-family residences are normally higher than for multis. And that's what we need to think about as we think about growth. Because it's not just building more homes. We've got to have industry and commerce go along with it to make this city vibrant and survive.
We need smart growth, because I remember back in the day, of course, this was a long time ago,
Before me,
when the
probably.
Naval Air Station was still here, that there was overbuilding, and there were houses that stayed empty for a long time, but that was then, and the base was new, but things were happening too fast, and there was overbuilding, but then it caught up with the population. But I think we're a smarter city now to not let that happen again.
You're always, yeah, there's, I mean, the effect of the base is a unique thing, but, you know, markets always do things like that where there's more inventory or less inventory. We're kind of in a less inventory stage right now. And so the builders are trying to respond and trying to build more. So, yeah, we need to be ready. And we also need to follow the mandate we've got from the state, which is to have a housing element that shows that we have enough land available, which is their way of showing that we're ready.
And I'll point out that in the context of the housing element, when the term inventory is used, they don't mean completed units that are on the market for sale or for rent.
Yeah.
Inventory means your capacity to develop.
It's land inventory,
Yeah.
not housing inventory. Once they've built it, they kind of don't care anymore. They want to know how much more can you build.
Once you've built it, it goes into counts like through the
goes into different
annual
counts,
report
yeah.
and things to show the progress that you're making towards achieving the goals or obligations that you have under the regional housing needs assessment. But I just wanted to clarify that inventory has a particular term in the context of housing element, and it's not the same as inventory when used for, you know, what's available in the current real estate market.
Yeah, and I probably misspoke when I said that. What I was trying to do is project out how much dirt do we have that is developable within our current city limits, and then what may be under consideration, that is under consideration for annexation, because that changes the equation when you look at it like that. So it's not just what's movable, what we can move into tomorrow. But what can we move into 3, 4, 5 years from now? And
Correct.
I think it's
And
incumbent
that's-
upon us to look at that as well as today's situation.
And that's the analysis that will happen during the housing element process. And if it's determined we don't have enough inventory, we'll have to make a commitment to designate more land for housing within a certain period of time. Usually they give us like a year. Or we might have to upzone more property.
Yeah, maybe this goes back to Christie. If Lennar is looking to annex further to the north, how much more are we talking about, or is that even just being discussed right now?
Mr. Chair, I'll say that's probably a question that's too direct to an existing project, and that would be
Okay,
more appropriate for discussion when that
I'll ask that
project
later.
itself is actually
I'll ask it
considered.
later.
You'll see it when it's brought before
Okay.
you.
I guess I could say though that 2/3 of the annexation projects we have are residential.
Okay,
So
thank you.
if that helps.
I do get ahead of myself occasionally.
Understandable.
That's why Wes is here.
Anything else for the director? Okay, item number 7, commissioner reports and requests. Or have we already done that?
I think we've done that.
I think we may have already done that. Anything else? And I would adjourn this meeting at 7:45.